Isn't that like a Kevin? Isn't that like a Kevin Nealon SNL skit?
Oh, I was thinking. I was going back to Billy Bob in Sling Blade back in the day.
I reckon.
I reckon.
Okay.
Okay, let's do this, eh? You hosers.
Okay, yeah, you guys, you hosers, you ready?
You hosers, you ready to do this, you hosers?
That's what they used to do, right?
Yep. That was really accurate, actually.
Good day, eh?
Yeah, that was so good.
Hey everyone, welcome to Press X to Podcast. It's your host, Paul Sullivan, and we're here with episode 4. It's January 31st, 2018. Alongside me, I've got Mr. January, Sean Petraschek.
Mr. January? Am I on a calendar that I don't know about?
I don't know. Are you on a calendar?
Maybe, possibly, but I can't imagine it would sell that well. I mean, I'm not the cover boy for much of anything except alcoholism.
Alcoholism Monthly, the calendar.
I mean, if you're going to be the poster boy for anything, it might as well be fun.
And, of course, as always, we've got Mr. Trevor Houston.
Hello, hello.
How's it going, guys? How was your weekend?
Not long enough?
Well, yeah, but was it good?
I think so, yeah. Today ended up being a big old waste of time. I didn't really do too much. I have my honey-do list, all my chores that I had to do, and then apart from that, I just sat on my fat tushy all day. Whole lot of nothing.
Well done. How about you, Trev?
I played a lot of games, so I'm excited because last week I didn't get to play anything, so this week I played at least 4 or 5 games. So yeah, it's a good weekend for gaming for sure because the weather's just piss poor. So what else? What am I gonna do?
The weather is trash right now.
I'm on high ground. I'm gonna make it, guys. I don't know about anybody who's low lying, but watch out for the arc. It's been like pissing rain. It's awful.
So, Trev, you mentioned games. Tell me about these games.
Oh, God. Well, where do we begin? Played a little bit of Sea of Thieves Beta, a little PUBG, a little Fortnite, a little Night in the Woods. Yeah, I played just a little bit and a little bit of Madden, of course. Got to keep that league going. But yeah, played a lot of games.
You're just like spewing buzzwords there too. Like you're on all the hot shit right now. The right. Fortnite and the PUBG, like you're on the pulse, as it were.
Well, you and I had a chance to play a little bit of the Sea of Thieves beta yesterday. Are we going to get into that now, or do we want to?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. I mean, if we're already talking about it, we might as well talk about it completely. We don't need to circle back.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I really don't know what I think about the game so far. I understand what they're trying to do. They don't want to, they don't want to spoon feed us. They don't want to guide us from one territory to the next. They want us to sort of figure out things. So yeah, I really don't know what I think about it. I really question whether or not this thing's going to be accessible for everyone when it does eventually hit release. I feel like it's a game you have to play with friends. Just playing with random gamers, I don't know. And you need a good mic, and you have to have good communication skills. Like, you have to be a good communicator to play this game effectively. And so for our first couple hours, it seemed like we were roaming around trying to figure things out, and it took us a long time to figure things out. But we had a ton of fun while we were doing that. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, for me, the way I'm looking at it is that I don't know if I would spend the 60, 70 bucks or whatever to go out and buy it. And that's just based on my first impression. But I mean, I'm with you on that. Like, you pretty much have to play with people that you know. I mean, I don't know, playing with randos might be okay because you never know which way the randos are going to vote, when you're doing certain things. So it adds maybe a bit more of an element of kind of like some surprise to it. But just kind of, it has Rare's fingerprints all over it. It's cartoony and fun and silly. I mean, I don't know if we laughed any harder than, shooting each other out of cannons into
into skeleton creatures. Like there's that goofiness that makes it worth playing or worth exploring. And I'm sure that literally what we saw was like the tip of the iceberg. I think it's a big game, and there's all sorts of stuff we don't know about it yet. First impression is super fun. But yeah, you got to play with people you know. You got to communicate. I was trying to, when the sails were down, I couldn't see. And I remember I'm yelling at you to make, tell me where I'm going. We're crashing into rocks. It's kind of chaotic at times. I liked it. But again, yeah, I'm not sure it's something I would actually go and pay for.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Because, I know my gaming style, and I play alone a lot. Like, I don't play a lot of games cooperatively with friends. So, and I don't think this is a game that you play solo.
Do you know why you don't play a lot of games cooperatively with friends, Trevor? Because when you're supposed to be doing things like dropping the sails, you're standing behind me playing an accordion while I'm steering a ship that's not moving.
Listen, I can play an accordion with the best of them.
That's the beautiful thing about wearing a good headset is you can tell where the sounds are coming from, right? Like a good 7.1 headset. And I'm like, why is there accordion music behind me? I'm like standing at the wheel ready to steer, and I turn around and I see Trevor dancing and playing this freaking like cranked up music box or something. And I'm pretty sure I was yelling. I'm like, do you want to go do what you're supposed to be doing, which is dropping sail, Trevor?
God damn it, Trevor. Will you help us with this boat?
So what are the ins and outs of this game? Like, what do you do in the minute to minute? Because the servers were a total tire fire and I couldn't get in.
Okay, well, when we first logged in, we're all we all started out in like a pub or in like a saloon of sorts or whatever on an island, and we all kind of made our way down into this little town, did a little bit of exploring, and then ultimately we ended up on the ship that we were going to take. And I think you can play it. They give you the option where at the opening screen where it's like you can play solo, 2-player, or 4-player, and basically saying that if you're going to play it solo, it's for a more experienced player. It's kind of like that sort of Minecraft idea in that when it dropped you in, you didn't get any instructions. There was no tutorial or anything. You just had to start figuring things out. So, the first thing I figured out how to do was how to drink and how to dance.
So,
the essentials.
Just like real life.
Basically, yeah. It was basically me just being me. But yeah, no, like once you get onto the boat, like I had, I believe, Trevor, you were down looking at the map. Like we
right.
All four of us, for speed, we all...
I sent us to the wrong island.
Our first mission, we spent an hour.
Yeah, trust me, guys, it's this way.
We literally spent an hour exploring the wrong island and thinking, there's got to be something we're missing about this game. It can't be this hard. We just really suck at being pirates. But yeah, no, it was cool. Like, everybody had their spot. I think, Anthony was at the front of the ship, kind of navigating. You were at the map navigating. Mike dropped sail. We all had to put the anchor up together. So there's a lot of cooperation, a lot of contact. And then just kind of chatting with each other. Saving each other's bacon when we're getting attacked on the beach, stuff like that. It was funny watching Trevor swim in circles while he was chased by a shark.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
So it's kind of, it's goofy. Obviously, there are missions. We got a quest that we had to do, and you go in and pick up a treasure chest, and then you're supposed to bring that treasure into outpost to get your booty. Unfortunately, the servers went kaput just as we were about to get the booty, so we didn't get.
Isn't that always the way?
It's basically a metaphor for life. Just when you're about to get the booty, the servers shut down. That's good.
So PUBG is kind of the total opposite end of that spectrum, Trev. How are you liking it now that, you kind of crapped all over it in Game of the Year?
Well, I didn't crap all over it. At the time I felt it was a little bit... I still feel it's still a bit rough. After you parachute down to the map, I found I had quite a bit of... I experienced quite a bit of frame rate issues, and it's almost like it's my character getting adjusted to the map, but it's still an intense experience, and it's one I'm terrible at that game. I need a lot more practice, but it's intense, especially when the the perimeter starts to shrink, and you've got to hustle your ass to get in the middle of that circle in the play area, and you've got half a life, and you're down ammo, and you're toast, and you're just hiding in a house, just trying to get down to the top 20, top 10. It's an intense experience, and it's a lot of fun, but it's it almost feels like it was meant for PC. It doesn't quite feel natural on Xbox One. That's where I was playing it this weekend. It just doesn't feel, the combat feels a little bit, what's the word? It's just, it feels like it needs the precision of a mouse and keyboard. You know what I mean? Like feels like it's missing that. So I'm having a tough time just, it seems like when you're fighting one-on-one with someone else, it comes down to who can jump and dodge and get lucky with a hit,
My oldest is playing it on Xbox as well, and he was saying the same thing. I mean, apparently, I don't know a lot about it because it's not a game that I would play, but he was saying that there's certain things like, when you're trying to pull off a shot at distance, there's wind and drop on the bullet and stuff like that. So you need to be... there needs to be a certain amount of precision. And that was the first thing he said, which exactly to what you had said, Trevor, is that it doesn't necessarily translate all that well into a controller. It's pretty much, geared towards the keyboard and mouse crowd.
Yeah, and when I hop over to Fortnite seems so much more geared for the console. Like it feels right. The shooting mechanics, the combat mechanics, sprinting, hustling from like one house to the next. It just feels like it's perfectly suited for consoles. Yeah. When I don't have that feeling with PUBG.
Yeah, and with Fortnite too, they're doing really, really well. I can't remember what the numbers were. I remember reading about it, but like 40 million players or something like that, and 2 million concurrent or something. Like it was a big.
I think that was the number.
It was a big number. I actually saw a really fun video. It was a YouTuber or something that was playing Fortnite, and he really figured out how to game the system. Is he stays on the outside of the circle, like right from the beginning, and as the circle starts to move in, he starts building stairs. And he just builds stairs up and up and up and up the whole time. So every time the circle advances, more stairs, and he stays just at the edge of the storm or whatever it is that's moving in. And he built it up until he was like up at the very till I think it was it had like another 3 to 4 stages, the storm, before it was like dead center. That's where he peaked out, and then he started building a platform. And he would build a platform to the point where only like the front corner of the platform was actually outside of the storm where people could see it technically, right? And he's so high up that they would look and they would think that it was probably a glitch or something like that, right? And then he would start building platforms in every time the storm advanced, to the point where he's built this platform up at the very top, and it's once the storm is at its smallest, there's only one other player left, and this player's running around on the ground going, where the fuck is this guy? And he's like just camped up top, and he starts poking holes in his platform that he has, and just like picks him out from it had to have been like 100 and some odd stories up, and you just picked him off. But it was like I thought it was like such a neat strategy. Obviously something you wouldn't be able to do, I gather, with PUBG, because PUBG doesn't have any of those building type mechanics, right?
No, it doesn't.
It just, if anything, it surprised me in that, like, the ingenuity of some players. I would have never freaking thought of something like that ever. Super smart, and it's almost a guaranteed win.
What I really liked about Fortnite is I was competitive right from the get-go. Now PUBG took me 4 or 5 games until I got my first kill. Like, it's a little less forgiving. Fortnite, I was top 20 first game in. Like, it very accessible. It felt really good right from the hop, and maybe it's because of the experience with PUBG I found Fortnite so forgiving. But yeah, I found it very accessible, and of course, hey, it's free, right? And what was nice about it being a free game is I never felt like I was at a disadvantage. I never felt like, oh man, I got to soak like $20 into this thing to get like the latest gun or some great armor. I never felt like I had to do that. I felt, even though I was playing like the base free version, I was still competitive, and I thought that was pretty cool.
Well, and that's the way a good free-to-play should be, right? Proper Cosmetic upgrades only.
Right.
I guess we should point out for clarity too. We promised we would do this. I'm not on it, but Evolve is representing Fortnite. At least we send out emails about it, information, news, that sort of stuff.
Excellent transparency, Sean.
Keeping things on the level, because that's how we do it here at Press X to Podcast.
The most golden of stars to you. Sean, did you play anything this week?
You know what? Apart from the Sea of Thieves beta, which I had a ton of fun with, I jumped into the hidden ones for Assassin's Creed, but I didn't get a lot of time in it. Not even enough yet to get much of a feel for it. The new area looks pretty cool. It came with immediately when I jumped into the DLC, I got a new outfit, which looks pretty badass. You can start seeing like the leanings. Basically with the hidden ones, it just kind of gives you a bit more of a look into how the assassins are formed, how the assassins kind of come together, a bit more of their story. Apart from that, I didn't actually get a lot of time to play this week. I'm hoping that next week I'm going to be able to maybe chat a bit about the hidden ones, because my plan is to make sure I get in there and finish that one.
And you have to get that 50th achievement.
I know, and it's just now that this happened to me with Skyrim. I got 50 for 50 on Skyrim, and then, which was insane at the time. Like, that was crazy because you had to go through every guild. I did everything. I did literally every single.
I can't imagine.
I did the
Good
Fighters
God.
Guild, the Thieves Guild. I did everything. So 50 for 50 on Skyrim. Already ate up like 200 plus hours of my life. And I was so proud of
How did you stay married?
Well, no, the funny thing is that was back when Xbox had, like, you could actually see, there was like a quantifier for like games fully completed, like games that you fully mastered, right? And it was like, I had this list of games that I 100%ed. I'm like proud of that list. And then when they released the DLC, that game disappeared because they added more achievements. And I'm like, that is some fucking bullshit. Give me back my accomplishment. I was mad. I was legit mad. And I mean, I tried so hard. I mean, I pretty much finished. I think I finished all of the DLCs, but there's still a handful of DLC achievements for Skyrim that I never ever got to. And I just I'll never go back now, but I still just don't like that they took away my complete game award. I was just like, you fuckers. It's
just got the shame hanging over your head.
That's right. I just don't want that to happen with Assassin's Creed. As soon as I actually looked at the achievements for the hidden ones. They're hard, but not that hard. It's just stuff where you're going to have to keep, you're going to have to put yourself into some similar scenarios to, like, I'm going to need to do this 5 or 6 times to be able to get the result that I want, stuff like that. Like, kill X amount of people by doing this thing or that thing, so I'll get there. I'm determined to have that game as a full 100%er. I love it that much.
You got to pick it up, bud. You're falling behind the curve.
I am, and I'm a disappointment to all my fans. But life goes on.
Did you say fans?
Yeah, I mean, there's got to at least be like 1 or 2 listeners who are like, I like that guy. That Sean guy, he's okay. Like a couple, please give me something. Fuck.
Well, if you do like Sean, you should write in.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, I'm like, you guys are supposed to be my compadres here. You're supposed to back me up, and I just feel like you guys are about to shit on me.
We're not about to shit on you.
Not. Hey, I see what you did there.
So I've been playing some games.
Yeah, you're like the game guy this week. Holy shit.
My God, yes. I've been playing Shadow of the Colossus.
Oh, that's my version of angels singing.
Yeah, and the review and video review will be out by the time this podcast is live.
So you can talk about it.
I can talk about it.
On what site, and how do I follow them on Twitter and Instagram and YouTube?
I do believe it's COGconnected.com.
Right, that's it.
On the Twitters,
COGconnected.com?
Well, COGconnected. On the Facebooks, COGconnected. On the Instagrams, COGconnected. Because Trevor's a company man.
Ding, ding.
Well done. Well done, boys.
I know your lines.
So, Shadow of the Colossus. I never played the original, which is kind of shameful as a gamer, knowing how well loved and revered it is in the community. So I've been playing the remake, and it is really, really good. It holds up incredibly well. I mean, for me as someone who is going to read a review, I'm actually glad that you haven't played it, because I find that in these situations, it's you don't have nostalgia goggles on. You know what I mean? So that review, to me, as someone who hasn't played the first one, it feels far more genuine, because nostalgia goes a long way into skewing your outlook on something. And if you're genuinely liking it, even without playing the last one, that says a lot. Yeah, from what I've read, the gameplay-wise, it's basically the same as the original. They've tidied up the controls a little bit, made it a little more modern to play. But gameplay-wise, it is exclusively a boss battle action game. So, you ride across this gorgeous open world. It is maybe one of the most breathtaking games I've ever played. And it's a lot of just contrasts of black and white. There's not a lot of color there too, right? So, and you're playing it as well with you've got a Pro with 4K, right? Yeah, so it's got to look really pretty. Yeah, the HDR is great. Like you said, it's really washed out and faded looking. But there's a really awesome photo mode baked into this one. It's kind of similar to the one that was in Horizon, but it's fleshed out a little bit more. You got a little more control over color and so on. Some of those screenshots will be in the review, but I've been having a lot of fun with that. And the bosses themselves, the designs hold up incredibly well. Every time I ran into a new one, it was pretty mind blowing to see what it was going to look like and how you were going to have to take it down. There's a lot of inventiveness, even if there's a pattern that you got to follow. It's a lot of fun. It is quite short though. I'm as of this recording, I've defeated 15 of the 16 Colossi and maybe 5.5 hours played. Oh wow! Ooh. Wow, you're really powering through. That's good. That means it'll be a thorough review. I look forward to reading it.
Well, and sometimes I like that as someone who's pretty busy. It's nice I could be able to pick up a game and finish it under 10 hours and then I'm done with it and I can move on to the next game. I just don't have time for those 100-hour grind fests anymore. So I don't mind the short. I mean, 5.5, 6 hours seems a tad too short for an $80 Canadian game.
Nope. No, I believe. Yeah, I think it's a $39 US. Yeah, it's a $40 release in the States, so it's not as high a dollar value. Yeah, it's tightly packaged, but it's really, really good.
Excellent.
Game I kind of saw this week, I haven't picked it up or played it, but I've noticed a lot of people talking about it and talking about how exceptionally good it is this game called Celeste. I know that it's a Vancouver developer that put this game together as well. And it is basically a brutally difficult but not impossible sprite pixel-based platformer. Apparently the story is really good. There's secrets galore. And I've seen clips, of the actual gameplay, and man, I think seems like someone I know actually completed it, and it gives you like a status at the end, and they had like upwards of 2,800 deaths in the game. It's got a little bit of a Meat Boy thing going on. Well, that's just it. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I was hesitant to, because I haven't played it, I was hesitant to say, the Meat Boy comparison, but that was kind of the first thing that came to mind for me would have been Meat Boy. But yeah, it's basically, it's not impossibly hard. You just need to learn it. You need to learn each stage and each level and each jump and your timing and all that sort of stuff. But I mean, I've seen reviews in like the 90s and 95s for this game, and people are just gushing over it. So that's one, I mean, with games like that, it's probably only like $10 or something. I'll probably pick it up. That's one I'll probably look at for sure. $20 on Steam. Yeah, which isn't so bad. I mean, no, not at all. I mean, I'd be more likely to pick that up than fall into every single person I know is playing Monster Hunter and loving it. It's just, I watched the trailer for it this morning and I'm like, do I click purchase? Am I going to do it? It's just not for me. I'm sure it's just not for me. So that even if I bought it and managed to get some time, a couple hours or a few hours out of it with friends, ultimately it would be a big waste of my cash. But Celeste, $10, $20, it's an easy purchase.
Wow, and it's averaging a 94 on Metacritic. The Switch version is averaging a 94. 9 critics, but still 94 is an impressive average.
And that's where I'd pick it up, would be the Switch. That's a game that screams Switch.
Yep, no doubt. Speaking of Monster Hunter, I put a few hours into that on the retail version, and I'm going to kind of echo what I said last week, is that it feels pretty good. It's if you're jonesing for a third-person action game where you run around and kill some big monsters with some buddies, it's pretty cool. But it's got let's say it's a very Japanese game.
I think that's what is throwing me off of it. That's not usually the genre of choice for me. I mean, I'm even at the point now where, I mean, I've always been a big fan of the Final Fantasy series, and I couldn't dig into 15. It just went too far for me. And I think that like on that, just that base, that real surface level, is I just don't dig those Japanese style games too much. It's the same reason that Persona is probably not huge for me, and people love it. People gush. And I mean, it's different strokes for different folks, obviously, right? I mean, it's obviously a good game. It's just not a for me game. So I think I'm going to hold pretty steady on not falling into it for myself.
Yeah, I kind of, but it's funny because I'm looking at the average review score here. It's averaging a 91 on PS4, and that's with 49 critics weighing in. That is impressive, and usually these kind of games don't fall on my radar, but those positive review scores has me intrigued. It kind of makes me want to try this one out.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, I kind of find we've had this discussion before about hive mind, and with this one too, it just seemed like everybody made their mind up before the game before any reviews came out. Everybody was like, "It's a great game." I don't know. I don't like to be the cynic, when it comes to these sorts of things. But hive mind for me is always something that I'm thinking about. Is it actually great, or did everybody want it to be great? Therefore, kind of went with the flow. Right, but genuine reactions from people that I know are playing it. I mean, you, Paul, obviously, you're genuinely liking the game, but
it's definitely got some quirks. Like the lip syncing in cutscenes is maybe the worst I've ever seen, and the storyline is, I don't know, it's schlock. It's not good, but the actual act of playing of the game, it's, I don't know, it's kind of along the lines of Dark Souls, in that you have to be really measured
Don't say that. The internet will have your fucking head. You're not allowed to compare anything to Dark Souls anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously not Dark Souls, but you gotta time your attacks. You gotta be smart about what you're doing in combat. That's what I mean when I say it's like Dark Souls.
Oh no, I agree with you. And that I saw plenty of arguments that said that exact thing. That, because there were quite a few reviews that went live making the Dark Souls comparison in terms of, again, not difficulty level. Dark Souls was not a sub for it's a hard game. It was that the combat was very, very similar. And the usual internet trolls, shitheads, had a fucking field day complaining at people about it. Like, you cannot say anything is comparable to Dark Souls anymore without the internet basically like cutting your head off and taking a shit down your throat. It's ridiculous.
Tell us how you really feel,
place.
Sean.
It's just such an angry place. Like, can there not just be a little more love?
Just put on your biggest shit-eating grin, and when they shit on you, just keep on grinning. They can't stand it.
It's true, actually. Yeah, just kill them with kindness. Kill them with the
Thanks
kindness.
for the click.
I do that. I used to do that really bad. When people would argue with me, especially on YouTube. YouTube was the easy one. Is someone would come in and complain, and I'd try to be nice to them, and okay, and then you'd realize that they're just a shitty human. And so I'd stop caring. And so every time they came back, I would just respond with thanks for the click and a smiley face, or click. I would literally just go click and press send, and it would show up, and they're like, real mature, bro. Click. Yeah, you think you're really funny? Click. And but they would keep going, and then you get the guy that was like, he would write a friggin' like 7-paragraph, like a mini novella response to click, and I would just go click.
Yeah, they can't handle that.
Shouldn't feed the trolls, but I mean, sometimes it's just too much fun.
Any other games you guys want to talk about?
I think I'm good on games for this week.
I feel like we talked about a ton.
Yeah, we did. There are a few things coming out this week. It's nowhere near as heavy as the Monster Hunter Dragon Ball Friday from Hell for reviewers.
Yeah,
but there are a few things coming out this week. As of yesterday, Dissidia Final Fantasy NT is out.
Which I know nothing about. It's a fighter, right?
It kind of looks like Final Fantasy Dynasty Warriors to me.
Okay, yeah. Definitely a game I would never purchase.
Some people might like it.
Well, yeah, they wouldn't make it if other people wouldn't like it, I would imagine.
True dat. Skyforce Reloaded, which is a Switch game. It's a top-down shooter. Looks pretty old school. Looks kind of cool.
But perfect for Switch. It's one of those, like, play it in bed, on-the-go type titles. It's not expensive either. It's like a $10 title, isn't it, on the eShop?
Yeah, it's cheap.
Good.
It's cheap. It might have been $5.99, actually.
Even better.
And coming out on Friday, UFC 3.
A game that I would want to play, but I suck at those games. They're so technical, and I love them for it. I like that they're respecting the fact that it's supposed to be technical. But man, they're too hard for me. I can't master them.
Yeah, well, usually they do a nice job though of sort of guiding you along, like they showing you the more complex moves as you progress in the game. And I mean, I'm pretty sure it's been a while since I played a UFC game, but I'm sure you can like really dumb down the difficulty and steamroll through opponents if you want. But yeah, if you plan on if you haven't played one of these games and you plan on going online and playing against a real live person, good luck.
Yeah,
You're gonna get creamed.
Yeah, and I mean,
yeah,
it's a far cry from like, I remember going 1,000 for 1,000 on achievements for one of the early Fight Night games. I've never been very good.
Oh, those were great.
They were great games.
Were awesome.
I've never been very good at fighting games in terms of mastering combos. I think my ADD or whatever kicks in because I can't main a character. People are like, who do you main? And I'm like, nobody. I play them all. Like I just don't have that interest where I can pick a character and dive in and just learn that character's moveset or whatever. With this, with UFC, it matters less because the controls are a little bit more universal across the board. You know what I mean? Like moving into a submission is going to move into a submission no matter who you're playing as. Right, and it'll play to their strengths, obviously, depending on where the fighter ranks or whatnot. But I just, no matter how much I know, no matter how much knowledge I have in a game like this, I inevitably fall back to being confused, not knowing what button I'm supposed to push, and just button mashing and getting my ass kicked. So as much as I love it, because I'm a big MMA fan, I love watching my MMA. I know that I'll just get served up like right proper if I tried to play this one.
The news.
There is some news. I mean, it was kind of a thin week on news, but there were a couple of interesting things.
That's all we need. You just give us something to work with, and we'll roll with it.
Like a dog with a bone.
Yeah. When a dog gets a bone, it rolls.
Okay.
Everyone knows that.
Just give us something to gnaw at.
You know what gamers are really gnawing at is God of War. Because they're hot. They're all aboard the downgrade train.
Oh my god. It's such a crock of shit. Like, come on, man.
There was even,
It's ridiculous.
You know what? Yeah, I mean, so
Did you guys watch the video? Did you guys watch the graphic comparison video?
I didn't watch the comparison video, but I saw some screenshots and stuff like that. And so basically what it is, though, is like one of the guys who's actually working on the game, the principal artist, is basically saying, look, you guys seem to think that, you know, it's a visual downgrade. That's not what it is at all. We've changed direction of some light and some fog, you know, basically, you know, changing tweaking things to what maybe works for them or what they think might look better. And of course, you know, the conspiracy theorists are all over this, going, they're almost screaming at it like the same level of, you know, distaste as they give the Ubisoft downgrade, which for years was one of the things. And it's just like, you know what, even if it's the downgrade, and I'm using those fake air quotations, downgrade, I mean, it still looks ridiculously good. And I think that sometimes gamers just need to shut up and stop complaining about stupid shit that doesn't matter. I mean, maybe that's harsh, but
look at the majesty of Kratos' beard.
Right?
Like, just look at it.
And you can
I don't care if the light direction changed.
Yeah, and you can see like how, like, you know, like you've got individual gray hairs in there and stuff like that. I mean, you know, it's just, we're at this point now where things look so friggin' good that there's nothing to complain about. There's nothing to complain about. And I mean, we've already said time and again, I mean, you know, gameplay over graphics. So if the gameplay is good and the graphics are pretty freaking spectacular to go with it, what are you bitching about? Like, stop. Just stop. Go have a cookie, calm yourself down, and come back again. You know what I mean? It seems so ridiculous that people get worked up about something that does not matter.
What I would desperately love to see is like a live recording of like a debug kit where they change the values of the lighting on the fly, you know, and change the angle back to what it was at E3 2016 and be like, see, you idiots, it still looks the same.
Right.
But, you know, I mean, it's still, this just kind of speaks to this generation, I would say, or a lot of, I don't want to say this generation, that's not really fair, but there's a lot of people in gaming right now where, you know, they just don't understand how things work. You know, everybody's really quick to complain. Like Sony today, for example, I mean, the servers were down, and there was like a tweet that went up or something about another game. I think it was about Shadow of the Colossus, with photo mode, and like the first 20 or 30 responses to it, and this is like a Sony overall account, was basically like, if you're taking the time to tweet out these pictures of Shadow Colossus, maybe you should fix your servers. Like it's one fucking person who works at the whole fucking company who's like, oh shit, yeah, maybe I shouldn't post these pictures, I'll get on the server issues for you. But it's like they can't just be happy with anything. It's just constant complaining sometimes, and that's the one part of this industry that a lot of the time gives me pause, to the point where I go like, oh, it's just so draining and tiring, right? Man,
you know, that's the internet in general, though. It's provided spaces for everybody to have their own echo chamber if they want it. So, you know, the people who are mad about one Ubisoft downgrade 5 years ago, they can all get in the same space and they can analyze God of War like to the ends of the earth, and you know, Kratos has one less beard hair than he did. It's ridiculous.
Oh my god, freak out.
It's a travesty, folks.
Like, oh my god.
I hope that none of our listeners are those people, because they're gonna be like, you know, fuck this podcast, I'm out of here.
Yeah, they won't be for long.
These guys aren't putting up with any of our shit.
No. I mean, go ahead and complain if you want, but I mean, what do you think you're gonna accomplish?
And I mean, maybe that's more to the point, right? Is like, I mean, the bottom line is, even if it is like they're saying, there's like a certain level of downgrade because of an adjustment to the system. When this game hits our consoles and we're playing it, we're not going to be complaining about the graphics.
No,
there's no way we're going to be complaining about the graphics in this game.
Absolutely not.
No chance.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just, I mean, it's funny that it was news. You know, I mean, because it's almost it is a non-issue, but that's, you know, if that's what people are talking about, that's what is, you know, sites are going to want to report on. But in the whole scheme of things, it is 100% just a non-issue.
Mm-hmm.
It is for me. It is for me.
I think it is for almost everybody. Like I say, like if you were to look at the, you know, try to break it down to the percentage of people who were actually complaining. I mean, sometimes in the world of journalism, and I mean, I know because I've done it too, is that one tweet from one person can make a news story. And that doesn't necessarily mean that everybody thinks that way. It's just somebody thought that way. And it makes an easy news story. I don't know how many people actually made this complaint. I would imagine that it wasn't many at all.
Speaking of games on consoles, the PS Plus games for February leaked out.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Well, apparently. We don't
it's
know.
not official yet. Not official yet. But it's a pretty damn good lineup.
But if they're true, it kind of, there's a certain amount of making sense, I guess, with basically, what is it? We've got Dark Souls 2 and Far Cry 4. I'm a little curious because the image that was shown is Dark Souls 2 Scholars of the First Sin, which was DLC. So is it
like a collector's edition or like a special edition version where it's got everything?
No, well, as far as I know, Scholars of the First Sin was DLC content and not the individual game proper. So, as part of PS Plus, yeah, sure, they're going to want to give you Dark Souls 2 for free, but why would they give you the DLC? They're hoping that you'll go and buy the DLC. So I'm taking this with a pretty big grain of salt.
Yeah. It's like any leak. It's never official until it's official.
Yeah, but I mean, with Far Cry 4, there's a certain amount of making sense in that we've got Far Cry 5 on the way. So, maybe get gamers hungry to pick up the new game.
It would.
Yep. Right? Unless they're too busy playing Far Cry 4 and they're like, I'm not going to buy 5 yet. and it tanks their sales.
Yeah, the question is, are they substantially dissimilar enough? Maybe, maybe not.
Yeah, Far Cry is Far Cry. You're gonna liberate some camps. You're gonna climb some towers. But I mean, I don't think there's going to be any issues in selling Far Cry 5. I mean, the controversy alone of the content of it, it got people talking when it was announced. So I think people are generally already have an interest in this one. So I don't know if they need to do too much extra to sell it. I mean, people kind of know what they're getting themselves into with Far Cry. They know what a Far Cry game is. They never really wander too far off the path. But I think a lot of people want to see how this story plays out. And I think it's going to make for some really interesting discussion once people actually get through the narrative on this one and what they're going to have to say about it.
What lends some weight to this story to me is the inclusion of That's You. That game that they've been trying to push for like 8 months, every month. And I doubt that anyone has downloaded it.
I don't know how many people are playing it. I haven't heard anybody ever actually talk about it, apart from a couple people who have actually gotten their hands on it. But the people who've gotten their hands on it say it's actually really fun. It's really fun, but it's just not a way that I want to play games. That's just me. That's a personal thing. I don't want to have to pick up my mobile because isn't it one of those, I can't remember what they call the system, but where you're using your mobile and an app alongside the console?
Yeah, Link, play Link, play something.
Don't care. I don't want to juggle devices while I play video games.
Nah.
Whoa, somebody's juggling something right now.
Oh, that was me. I didn't put it on mute. Now it's on mute.
Mr.
Right.
You're that guy. You're the guy that opens up his phone at the movie theater and is like answering text messages from his grandma while everyone's trying to watch Star Wars.
I'm not a Tommy texter.
Is that what they have it in the
not a Tommy texter
in the pre-movie thingy where they're telling you to turn off your phone? Is that they call you a Tommy texter? Don't be a Tommy texter.
Don't be a Susie seat kicker.
I hate that bitch.
You always turn around and you look at him and you're like, you would be a Susie.
You know what? The theater I go to now, I don't go to the I used to go to Colossus in Langley. I don't go there anymore. I've got the Landmark Cinema that's a lot closer to me, and they converted all their theaters into the full reclining seats. You know, they got the motor in them, and
that's nice.
And they've got like the double seat, so that if you're there on a hot date, you can actually take the center armrest up. Right.
Ooh.
So me and the last movie we went to see Star Wars, and me and the wife got a little distracted, a little hot and heavy. We just put the armrest up and we quote unquote cuddled a lot.
Is that why you liked that movie, Sean?
We're not going to get into that. That's not on the schedule, Paul.
No, it's not.
Well,
I think that's a cast in and of itself, like arguing about Star Wars, because we could go on for probably at least an hour.
Yeah.
We'll save that for the COG After Dark podcast.
What, the Star Wars talk or the cuddling?
The cuddling.
A little of both.
Sean's adventures at the landmark theaters.
So Far Cry 4 and Dark Souls 2 are rumors that we were looking at for PS Plus. What is Xbox hitting with on the opposite side?
They've got a few games as well. They've got Shadow Warrior on the X1, Assassin's Creed Chronicles India, and a couple of back compat games, Split Second and Crazy Taxi.
Woohoo! Crazy Taxi! I love that game back in the day.
Like in the arcade.
Dreamcast.
Yeah, or in the.
Oh, right, yeah, of
I
course,
played it in the arcade. I don't really know that. Actually, no. People have played Shadow Warrior. I've heard Shadow Warrior is pretty cool. I haven't played it, but the Assassin's Creed Chronicles series kind of received an overall meh from gamers.
I never played it. It was just a platformer, wasn't it? It was a.
Yeah, it's 2D? Like 2D sort of stealth platforming sort of thing. I'm not that I wouldn't play it. I just didn't get into it when it was released. I don't want to say lackluster. I mean, it's just every month goes up and down. But what do you expect? I mean, I don't know. I think we're starting to expect a lot out of these. You know, when we pay $5 a month for them or whatever it is, they're not overly expensive. So I'm glad to get any games, but I'm not looking at games with gold this month and going, oh man, we're really getting a bang.
No, not with that lineup. Let's face it. I mean, I might fire up Chronicles for a little bit just to see what it's like and to play a little bit of a platformer, and because it's free or part of the subscription. But I really have no interest in Shadow Warrior or Split Second at this point. Like, it's just those games have had their day.
Yeah. Crazy Taxi doesn't even include the Offspring song.
What?
Yeah.
What song was that again?
I don't remember. Man, you're asking me to dig pretty deep into the archives here.
I don't know. I'll throw 5 seconds of the song in right here.
And then, I mean, at least with Shadow Warrior, you know, like as you play it, you can make a bunch of Wang jokes. Isn't that the lead character's name? Isn't his name Wang?
I think it is Wang.
Yeah, like because I remember seeing all the Twitter shit of like, "Are you ready for more Wang?" And I'm like, "I've had my fill, thanks." Like, but yeah, I don't know. This is a really kind of meh month for me. I don't know if what I tend to do with these types of things, both with PS Plus and with Games with Gold, is that I make sure that I add them all to my library, and then, you know,
never think of them again.
And well, and then like with Xbox, it automatically starts downloading them, which I hate. I wish it was more like with PS Plus, you can just add the game to your library without being forced to start downloading it, right. And then you download it whenever the hell you feel, right? So it's in your library. With Xbox, you can't just put it in your library. You have to download it. So I usually start the download, cancel the download, but that way it shows that I've purchased it, so to speak. So it's there if I ever decide that I want it. But yeah, I don't see myself playing any of these four.
So it sounds like neither of you guys would be breaking down the door to pay extra money for Game Pass now that it's going to include Xbox One exclusives.
I already have Game Pass. And I have not. I haven't used it. Here's the thing. We were I was in a position where I got a lot of games already. You know what I mean? With working with the site and that sort of thing, a lot of games kind of land in your lap a little more often, right? Without having to put out cash for them. And I mean, I was pretty free I would buy what I wanted. And so these games that are on Game Pass, for me as somebody who has access to a lot of them, I'm not getting the dollar value out of it. But for somebody who can't afford to go out and buy 2-3 new games every month, there's a lot of value in Game Pass, right? We have to consider that we're on the spoiled side of things when it comes to games, all three of us, right? So it is good value. For $10 a month, it's good value. But adding on the fact now, I mean, I'm really interested in the thought that's going in behind this. So, I mean, we haven't really clearly explained it yet. So basically, Microsoft has said with Game Pass, any exclusives to the Xbox One and / PC, are going to be released on Game Pass the same day as they're released to stores, right? So games like Sea of Thieves,
full version too.
Full version.
Not that's right. Not 10 hours. Not just like part of the game. The full game, day one. You'll get it if you have a Game Pass subscription.
Exactly, and then that's like for me. That's why I'm going to go. Okay, well, I'll probably play Sea of Thieves because I'm not going to go out and spend $60 on it. I'm going to have it as part of my Game Pass. But I Crackdown, like Forza Horizon 4 is probably going to come out in the fall. I mean, that's a pretty big value. But what I'm curious about is how this. So, are they counting on Game Pass subscriptions going up enough to counter the loss that they're going to feel in sales of direct copies of these exclusive games? Right?
Well, I think in some ways it's smart because it makes the game a little bit more accessible. So if more people buy the Game Pass, that gets more people in the game. And then that opens up to, if there's DLC that they have to purchase, if there's, micros that they have to purchase in the game, which you have to imagine Sea of Thieves will have some kind of service.
Man, so it's a rare occurrence now that that games are released without any hint of some sort of micro or DLC. So yeah, you count on it.
I mean, it's definitely a bold and unexpected move. Like I don't think anybody saw this coming. So I'm curious what's behind it as well. Is this to boost subscriptions, or do they not think Sea of Thieves is tracking all that well? So they're like, it's not going to sell like a AAA game. So why don't we just put it with the Game Pass and see how it does, and maybe we'll get more people playing if we include it in the Game Pass.
But I don't think this is just a simple Sea of Thieves based decision. I mean, let's not forget. People are talking. Yeah, people are talking about that game already. I think there's a genuine, sincere hype behind Sea of Thieves. People are excited to play it. Who doesn't want to be a pirate, right? I mean, it's fun. So I don't think it's geared towards any one game. I mean, let's put it this way. I'm not complaining, and as far as I'm concerned, this is a step in the direction of being very pro-consumer, pro-gamer, right? It's getting big games into your hands for your $10 a month subscription fee. I mean, EA Access has already proved that it's a great system. For me, I've stopped buying a lot of EA games because I'm like, it's going to come out on Access in 6 months, and I've already paid, and it's only $20 for an entire year for Access. Right?
Yeah, that's a great value.
It's an insane value. I mean, we can shit on EA till the cows come home, about their the way they do things. But EA Access is not one of the bad things, right? And this is just a step in that direction. Now, I mean, I am starting to wonder. I mean, and this is it shows the leanings that we're having towards more and more sub-services. Right?
Yes.
So, but think about it, right? Okay, so we're going to put out $10 a month for Game Pass. We're going to put out $5 a month for Xbox Live. We're going to put out $5 a month for PS Plus. We're going to put out it's like $2 a month or $4 a month or whatever for EA Access. You add all that together, and we're at like $40 a month or something like that. So that's not even the price of a new game. But you have access to a shit ton of games every month for that $40 across all the systems. So how much longer before other retailers or other publishers start picking up on it and we start navigating possibly in that direction?
So the thing with Game Pass is it relies on there being new games every month. Because it sounds like they're going for kind of a Netflix thing where you have this subscription and you just have it and you always have it. It's just the way it is.
Yes.
But for a game like Sea of Thieves, I highly doubt most people are going to play that for more than a month. So why would I not go sign up the day before Sea of Thieves, pay for a month, cancel, and wait for the next big thing to come out?
Well, I think I don't know if I agree there. I think what will happen is there'll be content drops, there'll be updates, there'll be content drops. I think Sea of Thieves, when it's released, when is it released? In March? I think the game could change and evolve over the next year, maybe even 2 years. Maybe it's one of those games where people, sure, they might play it a month, but they might come back when there's a big update. They might come back when there's new maps, new squids, new sharks. Like, who knows, right? Like, yeah. I think it's one of those things where it's one of those games I think you could keep coming back to you.
Did you just say new squids?
I don't know, a kraken.
Okay, I thought that was
an octopus.
New squids.
A squid.
Did you hear? There's new squids in Sea of Thieves. I gotta go back.
So that's great for the people who do want to come back and those people that latch on to games. But if they're targeting the mass majority doesn't, one, finish a game, and two, doesn't really come back to things.
No, but I mean, at least with Game Pass, I believe their number is that they add 7 games a month on the first of the month. This month was the first time, I don't know if it already happened, but like there were a couple of games that were actually dropping. It's over 100 games now. I think it's at like 130 odd games or 120 something games. But a couple games, you know, like you say, similar to Netflix, have actually been dropped now off the list. So yeah, you know, there is a rotation of games in. I mean, sometimes it sucks though, right? I see these 7 games and I've either played them or whatnot. But again, you know, realizing that I can, you know, I've been in a fortunate position to be spoiled now and then. For a gamer that doesn't have a lot of money to spend, they're still seeing a lot of value. That's 7 games they probably haven't played, right? So you just can't argue. And I mean, this is nothing that, I mean, well, the internet might find a way to complain. We've already touched on that. You know, people love to complain. But I mean, when you're looking at value for your dollar, and now that they're throwing in all their exclusives, it's money well spent if this is a hobby for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I think it's a good idea that they're doing this. I think it just remains to be seen how successful it'll be in the long term.
Oh, for sure.
There are lots of games out there that people keep coming back to. Rainbow Six Siege, The Division. People are still playing Destiny hard. Yeah, Call of Duty lasts for a year, but they go at it hard for a full year. And I think if Microsoft gets a full year, a good year out of Sea of Thieves where people are paying for DLC, for micros, then I think it's a profitable game and it was a good move to put it on Game Pass if it turns out to be one of those games that it just brings people back and they don't put it away after a month. But yeah, you're right, Paul. This could be a game where people are like, you know, it's...
Well, let's look at it this way. I mean, games, like if I'm trying to look at it as games that I would probably put my cash out on anyways, is I would probably buy Forza Horizon 4 when it comes out.
Yep.
Definitely would have bought Crackdown, right? So you're looking at that at $60 a pop, you know, so there's $120. Well, that's your year's subscription to Game Pass plus all the other games they offer, right? So it's a no-brainer. State of Decay 2, that's right.
Right.
Yeah, if they do it right, it'll be incredible.
Yeah, and it just, I think, in terms of missteps and stuff like that, Microsoft has rarely falls in the negative spotlight. I mean, obviously, with the launch of the Xbox One, there was a big hubbub and changes were made. But I mean, on the whole, at least for me personally, I've always found that Microsoft operates... I mean, I want to say that they operate with the consumer in mind all the time. I mean, every business's agenda is to make money. But they kind of respect their audience, I find. You know, they respect the fact that we spend money and that we expect value for the money that we spent. I don't usually feel overly ripped off by any sort of tactics out of that camp. And this seems genuine in that, it, you know, like you said, Trevor, it's going to get people playing that game. There's going to be more people playing Sea of Thieves with Game Pass than there would have been, you know, if it was just an individual purchase. I mean,
yeah, I find myself, I'm in your shoes. I don't think I wouldn't spend the $60-$70 to buy it, but if I have a Game Pass, why not? Why wouldn't I download it and fire it up? Like, even if it's just for a week. Yeah, it would get me in. Game Pass gets me in that game.
Yep, exactly. Smart move, I'd say, on Microsoft's part.
I think it is. And you know, it could be, maybe this is their way of trying to, maybe subscriptions are terrible for the Game Pass, and this is the only way that they can really entice people.
You'll watch when Sea of Thieves comes out. You watch if they were to ever release that information that subs are gonna skyrocket that day.
For sure.
They're like, oh shit, it's out. I want to play it. But funny thing is not everybody appreciates the Game Pass announcement. There are some people who are a little bit pissy.
Sean Messler.
No,
not Sean.
No, not Sean. No, not this time. But a retailer in Austria is refusing to sell Xbox consoles because of the Game Pass announcement. Basically, because they're not going to sell copies of Xbox exclusives because everyone's going to get them through Game Pass. So they decided to throw a 2-year-old's hissy fit, like, can I have a candy? No, you can't have any candy. I want a candy! Kicking their feet up and down or whatever. But yeah, it's this retailer in Austria, and they're not necessarily huge. But they're putting their foot down, man. They're like, we're not selling consoles because of this. I mean, come on.
Okay.
I mean, do we really think GameStop's going to do that? Like, do we really think some of these other retailers? I doubt it.
No, it says the retailer, they're from Innsbruck, Austria, has been in business since '89 and has almost 375,000 customers, according to a translated version of this article. It was found on Resetera. I don't know how people are wanting to say that yet. Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, it just seems like... I don't see this working out in the retailer's favor necessarily. I mean, I guess it's his right to put his foot down and say that this system is unfair to retailers, which, I don't know, is it? They have every other game in the book to sell. I mean, they're losing out on a few exclusives, but how much money do they make off of these things anyways? I don't know. It just seems silly. Go get a tissue and move on.
Yeah, I think most retailers are making their money off... aren't most of them making their money off used games and trading in games? Like, that's where... I don't know if they're really making a ton off of new game sales.
No, I guess maybe that's what they're pissy about. No one's going to trade in any copies of Sea of Thieves now. I don't get it. I just don't get... if anything, maybe they thought that this would be... And it worked. Is this like their way to kind of get some viral advertising? Everybody's talking about them. And then, are they going to go back on their decision at some point? It just seems like a cry for attention for something super silly.
Agreed. And so we're going to stop talking about it. That's right.
If you want to do business alone, you should do the work alone. Yeah, this guy's really pissed about it. He's a very angry Austrian.
You don't see those that often.
Arnold is an angry Austrian sometimes, isn't he? He's Austrian, right? Schwarzenegger?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, he yells.
There you go. That's the only thing I know about Austrians.
Is Arnold?
I think. Yeah, I don't know any other Austrian folks.
Okay, what's your favorite Schwarzenegger movie?
Oh gosh. Let me bend
Choose
over
wisely.
I might have to go with True Lies.
Ooh, good choice.
Yeah.
Good choice.
Did you kill people? Yes, but they were all bad. Get in the chopper. So many quotable lines in that one. So yeah, I'd have to go True Lies.
I'd have to go Terminator 2. Easily for me. Terminator 2.
I picked you for a kindergarten cop guy. It's not a tumor.
That was fun though. That was a fun movie.
I'm gonna go way out in left field and say
Twins.
Predator.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say Twins.
Oh yes.
I do love Danny DeVito,
right?
But Predator is it's the quintessential 80s action movie. It's just so ridiculous.
But you know what the beauty of Predator is? I heard some people talking about it recently, asking if it still stands up today as an action movie, and it totally does.
It does.
Predator is such a badass movie.
Because Jesse the Body's in it. Remember when he says, "I don't have time to bleed." Like, that's just the best.
Jesse the Body.
Jesse the Body Ventura.
How about the scene where Schwarzenegger and Carl Weathers clasp hands and then they're just both flexing, getting huger and huger?
I've been watching
steroids.
a series on Netflix called Colony that has Carl Weathers in it recently, and it's actually pretty good. There's 2 seasons on there. I've never heard anybody actually talk about the series, but it's got Josh Holloway in it. He was in Lost. He played Sawyer in Lost. And basically, like, aliens have like invaded Earth, and humankind is kind of relegated to these what they call blocks, which, like, LA, for example, is like literally walled in, and you can't get in or out, that sort of thing. It's a really, really cool series. I'm really enjoying it. I think I'm on like episode 8 of season 1, but no one's talked about it. I don't know anybody who's ever actually heard about it. But
So is it like Judge Dredd with aliens?
no, not quite. I mean, it's weird. Like the cool dynamic is that Josh Holloway's character gets kind of recruited to work for what they call the occupation. It's their government, and then his wife is secretly working for the underground, like the resistance. And so, yeah, they're both on. They both have the same end goal. Their son is missing, and they're trying to get their son. So they have the same end goal, but different tactics. And you're watching them try to I mean, he doesn't know that she's in the resistance and stuff. So there's a really neat dynamic going on, and it's really good storytelling. I'm just really surprised that I've never heard a soul talk about it. I've never heard anybody ever say anything about this series. And what got me here is Carl Weathers is in it.
We went
We're back to
way
Carl
out in
Weathers.
left field there. Wow.
I take
That was
things in strange
impressive.
directions. Yeah. Anyway.
So the last piece of news I pulled is that BioWare revealed some Anthem combat details, gameplay details.
They also revealed that it's off the table for 2018, didn't they? Or is that still a rumor?
Oh, did they say that?
2019, BioWare.
Oh, I think I read that. That's right.
BioWare is devoting a big team, and they're saying we don't want to make the same missteps that were made in some games of the past, which I'm assuming they're obviously alluding to Mass Effect.
Sure.
BioWare wants to keep their name pretty high up, with gamers. So taking their time to do it right, that doesn't bother me. I honestly didn't think it was going to come out in 2018 anyways. I thought that was a bit of a pipe dream, but I don't know. What's this stuff about the combat? I haven't heard this yet.
Well, they talked a bit about their exploration mechanics, and they're playing around with the flying mechanics and trying to figure out how much skill to put into that. So sounds like there's going to be a fair bit of skill involved in actually flying. I don't know if you guys remember the demo, but they had the player character flying through some narrow openings and stuff like that.
Right.
It sounds like that could be pretty challenging.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm down with that. I mean, that's cool by me. I mean, I'm kind of curious if with that, navigation being challenging. I mean, is there going to be any sort of like combat? I mean, we're wearing these fancy flying suits. Is there going to be combat in the air? That'd be freaking cool.
I'd be down with that.
Yeah, I'd be totally down with that. I mean, I'm on the optimistic side of the spectrum when it comes to Anthem. I'm really excited about this game. I mean, obviously we don't know a lot about it, but just from what we saw of that demo and what we've kind of been told so far of this world, I'm just praying that they do it right, that they don't turn this into, I mean, yes, I get it. You guys want to make money, just do it right. Do it in a way that is going to benefit your players. And, I mean, make this world explode. Make it pop, because it looks so cool on the surface so far.
If they even think about putting any kind of paywall behind progression in any way, like, oh my god, there'll be a tidal wave of hate, and people will turn on this game quicker than they did on Battlefront. Like, you're right, they have to take their time and they have to do it right, and they're going to have to be very careful when it comes to their... the DLC offering, Seasons Pass, monetization. They have to be really careful, because I'm kind of in the same boat as you, Sean. I want this game to be really good. Like, it's right up my alley. Like, playing with a cool exosuit and flying in the air and swimming and fighting these crazy enemies. Like, I want this to be really good, but I understand why gamers are apprehensive and they're a little bit nervous about Anthem.
Well, I'm glad they seem to be doing it right. Just give it the time it needs. I don't care when it comes out. Just make sure it's really, really good. And, if they can make it into what Destiny was promised to be before it was released, I'd be good with that.
Yeah, there's that, of course I'm not going to remember it off the top of my head right now, but there's a Shiggy quote out there that something along the lines of how... a rushed game will always be bad. A delayed game will be better. I'm going to have to try and look up the quote or I can't remember it off the top of my head. But basically that attitude is if you push something out when it's not ready, it's forever bad. And I mean, but think about it, right? Put it this way. Let's look at something like No Man's Sky, right? No Man's Sky now is a really cool
great.
game. It's a great game, but it already had its chance in the sun, and then a year later it's getting more updates that are the game that you play now versus the game that was released at launch. They're two completely different entities, and it's really, really, really good now. But that bad faith, no one's going out now and buying No Man's Sky. No one's jumping back on that train because they had their chance. So yes, technically you can make the game better, but it's done. I mean, there was EA did a release or a patch recently, or I don't know if it's out yet or if it's coming, but there's an update coming to the progression system, because obviously the progression got completely hosed by pulling away with all the micro stuff because of that reaction and everything else. It doesn't matter how many changes they make. The people who have decided that they're not playing Battlefront 2 are still going to not play Battlefront 2. Right? So take your time, do it perfect, do it right, release the game that you want to release, and start there. Don't push it out the window just to make a date.
It's almost become a common practice, though, that a lot of these games are getting released half-baked, or maybe that's not entirely fair, but let's just say incomplete. And then day one, you get this like massive patch. And then I think we've all almost come to expect it in 2018 that, yeah, we'll get a new game. Yeah, we'll put it in and we'll get this massive day one patch. Like, for instance, Paul, did you get that with, I know you've got Monster Hunter. Did you get that when you loaded up the game? Like this massive update? Or will you see one on Tuesday or when? Oh, no, it came out on Friday.
Yeah, it came out on Friday. If there was a day one update, it was already baked into the initial download.
Oh, of course, right. Because, yeah, that's right. You didn't have a retail copy.
Yeah.
But I guess, yeah, the point I'm getting at, it seems like a lot of these games are being released incomplete. And they are getting updates, and then they're getting updates 2 months down the road, and they are becoming different experiences.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with that sort of stuff, with the updating and everything else. I mean, it's just, don't release a game that, a simple minor update's not going to fix either, right? I mean, once gamers get a bad taste in their mouth for an experience, there's no coming back from it. So, I mean, yeah, there's people who will fight and say that Mass Effect 4 wasn't that bad of a game, and it wasn't. It wasn't that bad of a game. You just had to get over, the hurdles that were there. Same thing is going to happen with Anthem, you know what I mean? In that, they have their chance to impress us and they've got to do it right out the gate, or else it's going to be another, man, it had so much potential type conversation, 2 months after release.
Which would probably really destroy BioWare. Like, they really, I feel like they really need this to be a hit. I mean, they probably don't. They'll probably be just fine and they'll be around for years, but I feel like they really need a comeback here.
I do not want to add BioWare to the list of developers that EA has crushed. You know what I mean? We've seen Motive. We've seen, was it Motive, Visceral? I mean, the list goes on and on of developers that EA have acquired that no longer exist. BioWare is just not it. BioWare is a name that that has some power in this industry. I don't see that happening. I don't, and if it did, I would be genuinely, I don't want to say devastated. There's more to life than video games. It's devastating. But I wouldn't be happy about it. I wouldn't be pleased, right? I mean, some of the Dragon Age Origins is probably next to Skyrim in games that I love. I've played through that game from start to finish numerous times, all the DLC, and it's fucking great. It's so friggin' good. So BioWare has it in them to make great experiences. They just got to take their time and do it right.
So guys, we got another email.
Yeah.
I cannot fucking believe it.
And it's not from the same person.
Well, that's exactly why I can't believe it. I mean, I'm impressed, and I'm happy. I'm like, shout out to people actually listening to us. That's fucking rad. We appreciate you guys.
Absolutely.
And if you're a listener who wants to write in, and we will be reading everything that comes in, no matter what it is, you can send that to pressxpodcast@gmail.com. That's pressxpodcast@gmail.com.
That pause threw me off. I'm like, isn't he going to do it again? He always does it twice.
I thought someone might try to cut in there, so... Yeah.
No, I was surprised. I was just like, silence, waiting for it. And I'm like, he's not going to do it. I almost started doing it myself.
You wanted some of the glory for yourself, don't lie.
I always do.
Trev, do you want to take this email?
Yeah, it was from Josh. Josh from Rhode Island.
Hello, Josh.
What's he say? He says, "Hey, Press X to podcast staff. I'm genuinely enjoying the podcast. I appreciate the staff being a bit older, as I'll be 36 shortly and still an avid PS4 player. And I respect and appreciate the adult language. It's genuine."
Fuck yeah, it is.
Thanks, Josh.
Fuck yeah.
Although we're not that old. Are we that old?
No.
I guess we're getting up there.
We're in the
What else does
ballpark
he say? He says, "Keep it up. Many of my friends are listening. Oh, and shout out to Team Ninja on Neo. Had not heard anyone consider it for Game of the Year, but wow, incredible game." Question: does the podcast staff enjoy the Soulsborne Neo type game?
I love how he puts it in Souls Borneo and in parentheses patent pending. It's a pretty good. That's a pretty good genre wrap there. Is that like the new Metroidvania?
I think it might be.
Yeah,
I think I'm going to go with it. As long as Josh will let us use his, patent, he'll license it out. I think we'll use that
from now on.
Yeah, if we remember.
Let's do it. I like how he adds at the end though. P.S. I would have been the first email, but I sent it originally to the wrong email address because I'm a moron.
That's truly honest.
At least you can laugh at yourself, Josh. I can appreciate that very, very much.
I would never have admitted to such a thing.
Well, it's a balance, a fine balance. Yes, he's willing to call himself a moron, which I respect. He's a little self-deprecating, but he also wants to let us know that he was a fan before Crazy Jerry Mouse. He would have been the first email. And for that, I respect him as well.
Trev, you love these punishing type games, don't you?
Oh God, come on! Like, look at me. Do I look like the kind that has the patience for those? I mean, look, I appreciate those games for what they are, but those kind of punishing games that require a ton of patience and strategy, they've never really been up my alley. I mean, Bloodborne's definitely on my pile of shame. I don't think I made it past the first level without just being like, oh my God, this is just too much for me. And I think, you know what, maybe this week I will take it on again and see how far I get. But I'm
going to remember that and bring that up next week. Be like, so how far did you get in Bloodborne? And you'd be like, I couldn't get past the first boss.
the fucking first level. God damn it. But I mean, yeah, I appreciate for what they are. I mean, they're games that require a ton of strategy, a ton of patience. They're not mashers, and inevitably I go running into these games just wanting to mash and get through the levels, and it just ends poorly each time.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same mindset. I got into Bloodborne a little bit. I don't know if it's because I'm an impatient player, because basically these are games that require you to really learn the combat system and have patience as you progress. Certain games, I mean, if we're talking about, say, Splinter Cell, for example, right, where you're waiting for an ideal moment to even move around a corner, those I process really well. I love that sort of stealth, and I'll take 2 hours to navigate through a level, and I have no problem with that. I don't know if it's just the timing with combat or something, but I do tend to have a hard time with those types of games. There was a game, it was basically, I'm not going to remember the name of it, so I guess it didn't leave the world's best impression, but it was like a Dark Souls clone in a sense, but it was a little bit more fantasy setting. I think it was it Deck 57, I think was the publisher
Lords
on
of
it.
the Fallen?
What's that?
Lords of the Fallen?
Lords of the Fallen. That's the one. I played that one, and that one, I mean, it was a little choppy. I mean, it wasn't as polished as a Souls game, but I actually kind of liked that one. I don't know if maybe it was just a little bit of the difference in setting, but it was similar in terms of combat. You needed to pick your moves. You needed to be patient through all your combat and, go in for one hit, don't get greedy, move back. time your movement, time your dodge and roll, and all that sort of stuff. So I'm kind of curious if maybe for me the reason I'm not into the Souls games as much is because I'm just not a big fan of the setting. So not the game, not the style of gameplay, but the setting. So if the right game came along, I'd probably be all in.
Yeah, I couldn't care less about the Dark Souls setting, the Dark Souls lore, but Bloodborne resonated for me a lot more. I really liked that kind of Lovecraftian, horror and that sort of stuff. So I really latched onto that a lot more. I'm still not good at those games because I'm not patient enough, but I do enjoy them.
Well, it's funny. I mean, considering the whole uproar that happened with Dean Takahashi from VentureBeat with Cuphead, but the idea
Dean.
of that,
I sympathize with him so much on that.
Well, yeah,
Poor Dean.
But the idea that, to be a games journalist, someone who talks about games, you need to be good at all the games. And it's just like, man,
no.
I mean, I'm good at some games, games that really kind of fit with the way I think, but I suck at 90% of them. And I slog through because I just love doing it. And I mean, the fact that we can all admit that, like, no, you know what, these games are really hard, and that's maybe why they're not for me or whatnot. I just kind of feel bad when I think about that poor Dean just got that target for Cuphead. And that whole argument that came out of that we all have to be so great when we're all pretty willing to admit that we're not actually very good at games. We just like them a lot.
That's right.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I think as long as you're competent enough to understand the mechanics and, give a nuanced take on what they are and how they compare to other things, that's what's important. Not necessarily that you're, an awesome game's done quick kind of person.
Oh God, I don't even get me started on that. Was it ADGQ? No, awesome. No, AGDQ.
Awesome done games quick. Yeah.
Awesome AGDQ. Awesome games done quick. I love that actually. Like, I love watching it because it blows my mind how fast those guys can make their way through stuff. I could never. I'm a left wall crawl guy when it comes to games. Like, go into a room, go one direction, not miss anything, and then do it a second time just in case you miss something. That's how I play games. So speed running is like a foreign language for me.
So yeah, thanks Josh for the question. We appreciate you listening. And if you wanted to, it would be great if you could share this podcast with everyone you know. We'd really love to have as many listeners as we can get.
That would be really super. I mean, if I'm gonna put a request out there to everybody who's actually enjoying this. I mean, we really appreciate that people are taking the time to listen to three of us ramble. I mean, if we're entertaining you, that's fantastic. We're really proud of that. The best way for us to keep growing and kind of getting ourselves off the ground, I mean, the rate and the review obviously is fantastic, but that doesn't necessarily get listeners. Tell your friends, share with your friends. I mean, send us those emails. We love answering them. We love all the feedback. Tell us what we're doing right, and feel free to tell us what we're doing wrong. I mean, we want to make sure that we're improving and providing everybody, with the most entertainment that we can give them in an hour and 15 odd minutes.
Hells to the yeah.
Thanks,
good input, Trev.
And with that, that's going to do it for this week's episode of Press X the podcast. This has been episode number 4 for the end of January 2018.
We made it to 4?
4. That's almost 5.
That's it's impressive. Before you know it, we're going to be in double digits.
Won't that be crazy?
Oh, I can't believe it.
Are we going to be able to think up titles for all these podcasts?
I bet you like something's going to come up genuinely in every podcast that will have something that's title worthy.
If not, we'll fall back on Trev's ham hands and life will be good.
I can't believe we didn't name the last episode Trev's ham hands.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
We went with blood on the sand. That's not nearly as good.
That's not as good as sausage digits.
Oh,
Big
when
sausage
I heard
digits.
That, I love that pause. Sausage digits. It's just, what you were going for, and it just the silence is so awkward but so fitting.
It was perfect. It was perfect. So thanks again everybody for listening. You want to follow us, you can do that. come to pressx2podcast.com or COGconnected.com, where you'll find all the news, reviews, and gaming stuff that you love. And until next time, this is Paul, Sean, and Trevor signing off.
Thanks for listening.
Peace out.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
I'm leaving that one in.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I'm going to cut out everything but that. Bye-bye.